Welcome back to Murph Code's Python tutorial. We've been cutting our streams short a little bit the last couple of times. I'm hoping today I won't have to cut things short, but we'll see how it goes. We have, however, made some progress on our app. There's my stream, which y'all are watching. Wave to yourself, say hi. Alright, so let's open things up here. OneDrive and documents. Python code. Alright. Open that one. Open this one. I really gotta learn to start putting my phone on silent when I start to do stuff. I keep forgetting to do that. And then the Twitch app tells me that, hey, you can use your phone as a mobile dashboard. I don't care. I'm streaming right now. You don't need to tell me that I can do that during my stream. I mean, you'd think the platform that's, you know. Anyway. Last session, we drew a whole bunch of pretty little pictures of what we want our app to look like. So let me find those here. Alright, I did save them. They're all here. We want to open this with, here we go. Paint. I'm going to do that because if we want to make any changes to our drawing, it's just easier to have it open in Paint already. After all, it's what we made it with. I don't imagine we're gonna have to, but you know, just in case, I like to have things open with the editor. Okay. Okay, for this one, the update record and the delete record. And the create file and the add new record. We're going to have to do something we haven't done yet. We'll come back to those. For now, let's just focus on our main window here. And let's get our file and edit menus in place here. Okay, so we have the file menu. Okay, for our file menu, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 items, if my math is correct. Okay, so we already have 3 new it helps if I can spell, huh? 3 new functions we're going to want to declare. See, new, open, save, delete, delete. That's how my brain is functioning today. Delete. Okay, I don't know what's going on upstairs, but apparently they've decided that right now is the perfect time to just start smashing through the floor. Okay, so we have our functions for the file menu. We can actually close close that because that's all been added. We just have to write the functions. This is a little nifty programmer trick. Basically, this helps us track down things we still need to do. So like when I add a function and I just throw pass in there and I haven't actually written the function yet, so that I don't forget to come back to it later, I just have to get in the habit of putting a little hashtag to do, and I can follow that up with notes if there's anything important that I need to remember about that specific to do. But just put to do, and then when you need to figure out what you have left to work on, you just open up the find, type to do, find next, find next, find next, find next, and it'll cycle through all the things that you have started and didn't get around to finishing. But don't feel bad. Don't feel bad about starting stuff and not finishing them. This isn't going to market. You don't have some boss over your head telling you, oh, we need this done by whatever. No, this is just a little project we're working on for ourselves. I don't know if I've discussed much what this program will help us do in the future, because there are plans. There are plans. I did mention at some point I'd like to do a sorry, my brain's a little slow. I'm still a little ham hungover from the festivities yesterday. And by ham hungover, I mean hungover from ham. Had a lot of ham. But you know, if you can't write code when you're less than fully functional, you shouldn't be writing code at all. That's nonsense, I know. Wow, I can almost spell today. Wow, I can really almost spell today. There we go. Okay, we did it. We did it, guys. Seriously, I need a spell check for my brain. We're just going to follow the same conventions we used here for update. There we go. Okay. We got a whole lot of menu functions going on here, and really only one of them works. Alright, before we forget, we better add our okay, let's take a look at how that turned out. Okay, new open, save, delete, exit, add, update, and delete. That's pretty perfect. I don't know what this is. Oh, weird. I gotta figure out how to get rid of that. We don't want that to keep coming up. Problem for another day, though. Okay, so our menus work. They exist anyway. Let's see. Our main also needs buttons. So, let's see here. We have an add new button. Let's just go with what are we using here? Self? Self. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Was it text or label for... And then this is just going to end up using the same function we have up here. We're using place for our geometry. Okay, what do we got here? Height of 23 for our list box. Which again, we're probably going to change that to a label. Height, though, we don't have a height set. We should probably set a height for that. What's it look like our height is here? Around 500? That's fair. We might change that. Notice I'm not putting selected record. That would be because I don't know if we're going to be able to select the record when we're done. But what I want to do is make it so that we're using the same function for a button as our menu command. So it'll still call up the exact same, because these are just those same three functions there. Nothing special. How wide are things here? That one's at 300, this one is at 500? We're probably going to have to mess around with this geometry a little bit to get these in the proper place. But that is fine. Let's see how it looks. Ceph is not defined. Ceph. Oh boy. I mean, it's not exactly a one-to-one, but all of the elements are there. So, you know, that part's working. We're going to come back to this because this is still the backbone to our graphic user interface. This is the functions that actually do the work on the files, as you recall, that little command line program that we wrote way back in the day. So we'll come back to that. For now, though, we're just focusing on developing the interface. Alright, so essentially we have written most of the new code that we need. Let's clean this up a bit. We don't need a submit button. So I'm gonna get rid of that. We don't need to pop up that. Alright, so far, our app's looking pretty good, and it's pretty simple. We only have 6 functions to take care of, because I didn't add separate functions for each of these buttons here. We're just using the same function for our menu. The same functions that that are called when these are clicked are called when these are clicked. That's it. Plain and simple. Makes our job easy. The ones that are going to be difficult is this one here. So we click on it to create a new file. This one here, which saves any of the changes we made, although we technically don't need to. If it just automatically saves every time we do something, as it did when we made our command line project, our little command line version of this, which I just closed, and now I have to go find it again, because of course I do. Of course I do. Okay, I'm in OneDrive, documents, code. Okay. We create a file, we read a file, we update a file, we delete a file. But have you noticed we never call update the file by itself? Update file just kind of gets triggered every time we do one of the other things. For example, okay, so we have the create file, we have the read file, delete file. Those all get done by themselves. Create record. Calls the right file, which is our update file. Read record does not. Update record. Write file. Delete record. Write file. So we don't really need to save if everything we do already updates the file for us. What's to save? Saving is just updating the file, which happens every time we do a thing anyway. So we can actually eliminate that. Because it makes no sense to do it twice. Alright. So the things we're worried about now are creating a new file or deleting the existing file. Adding a new record, updating an existing record, or deleting a record. And we have the main function to do those already in our CruddyBuddy module. We just need the interfaces to do that. And we have those here. Alright, update record. We'll get to that. Delete record. We'll get to that. Adding a new record. We can get to that later. Okay. Okay, so when we go to create new, we want to be able to pop open a window, a new window, and we'll have it populated with a file name, an entry box, a directory, a button to hopefully change the directory, little warning saying, hey, this will overwrite any existing file with that name. Be sure you're choosing something unique. We may do an are you sure checkbox, or we might just have it come up as a confirmation dialog when they click the submit and create. Maybe. However, the action that I would like to have, occur is for there to be a closing of this after we have submitted. I still have, yes I do. Now it might be possible not exactly, because I forgot something, didn't I? I forgot what happens when it creates the file. Because immediately following this, it should ask us for the headers, right? And then we feed those into the first record. So yeah, we're gonna have to plan that out a little bit. Now I was thinking we might be able to use a file dialog, but that's not exactly gonna work, right? Because we would have to trigger also opening another dialog that would have us create that first record, the header record. So we actually need a second one of these. Or something similar to it for our headers. Now, I haven't thought that far ahead. But in either case, we're going to need to be able to... Oh, excuse me. We're going to need to be able to create a top-level window. So, we're going to learn how to do that right here. Yes, I meant top level. There we go. So, back in our code. Now this has the same sort of functions and such that we've seen with our main app. The only thing here is it's triggered by a command call instead of having to call the main loop. I just want to make sure I'm using it right, because it's been a while since I've had to do this. It's been a while. We should name it, so we know that we've got the right one here. Oh, what do we want to call this? We want to call this the create new file. Now let's see if I actually did any of that right. All right, as you can see here, create new file. All right, we still have to set geometry on this. We still have to create a frame to stick on here and throw some widgets at it so that we fill it in with all of the funky stuff that we put in here. But there it is. There is our new file window. Now here is where we're going to veer off and it might get a little confusing. Alright, so here we have one frame which we add here. I'm actually going to change the name of this a little bit. because we're adding all of our stuff directly to the class definition. So we can't reuse that one. Now don't get confused, new window just means the create new window. Alright, once again we're going to extend frame. And copy this part here. Because all this is doing is calling the frame superclass's init function. And we're going to make this frame fill up that new window. Alright, now here is where we add the main window to top. But just like in our function here, we want to do something similar to that. Okay? So we created a new window. Okay. Now, I believe we should be able to add stuff here, and it should show up like I'm gonna have to change all this, don't worry about that. Alright, right. It's already running. Self is not defined. talking about itself. Alright, that's all out. I had it outside of the code block. That was my bad. Okay, so we'll do new. Something's up. Oh, there it is. There it is. Check it out. Create new file. There's our submit button. This is how you create a new window. I mean, there might be more elegant ways to do it, but this is working for us. So now we just have to draw this to look something like this. Alright, so what was the size of our, we went about 500 by 320? It's not responding. Oh, that's because it's asking me if I want to quit, isn't it? Yep. That's what it's asking me. Yeah, okay. And then, of course, it closes idle, too, because I haven't figured out how to get it to just close the window and not close idle. Probably have to call the destroy method or something instead of exit. I don't know. Okay, so we can also set the geometry, like I said before. Using the same functions that we used previously. Do that here though with the new window. Am I spelling everything right? I think so. Now, if we don't want to make this resizable, what is it, min size? Yeah, min size and max size. Now we could have done the same thing we did previously where we set a constant and then plug that in everywhere, but we're just trying to make this work right now. Alright, not bad. We want to move our button, though, our submit button. Also want to add our change directory button. Add our labels. And our file name. Now we could, instead of just warning the user that, hey, the thing you're about to do, it's going to overwrite any existing file of the same name, we could check for a file of the same name. And we could pop up a box that says, hey, you already got one of those. Sure you want to make another one? Because it'll erase that last one. We can have that pop up. So we might do away with this warning here and just make it a pop-up dialog. Same with the are you sure? Of course, I don't know that we really need to be worried with the are you sure if we're asking and checking to see if the file exists. So, I think we'll just do a file name label, an entry box, a file directory label, and a change directory button, and a create file button. Alright, so we want that in the bottom corner. Our window is 500 by 320. So we'll go 420 by 280. Pretty good placement, right? I nailed that sucker. Boom. Right where we wanted it. This window is rather large, though, for the small amount of stuff we're actually going to have it do now. But that's fine. We can change sizes, fix the geometry if we want. Otherwise, we can just leave some white space in. That's not going to kill anything. Let's see. Where do we want to place this? We'll give a decent border, I suppose. I mean, that might be too much border, but we'll see what it looks like. You know, that's not bad, actually. I kind of like it there. Okay. So now we need an entry box. We should also not forget this still needs 32 characters. Hopefully that won't be too terribly long. Oh, no, we want to do... See how that looks. I did forget a comma. Thank you, Idle. That's pretty good. Probably drop it down a bit. Maybe put a little more space between the label and the entry box. Otherwise, it looks good. It looks good. It's coming along quite nicely. We can close Cruddy Buddy for now. Interface. Here we go. Okay, so where do I have that? 85, 80. Here, let's bring that to 82. Not 802, 82. That's probably not going to be significant enough. That should be, though. Now here's where we want to get a little tricky. Do we have okay, yep, we have a file directory and a file name from our main window. So when we do file new, going to be able to access that information? Maybe. Let's try it. Also helps if I place it, huh? We want it to go between those two. So we got a good amount of distance here we can go. We want it to be in line with our first label. And height-wise, we'll try that. Main window object has no file directory. Okay, so we're calling the wrong thing. Probably because we didn't set any defaults, huh? Because we use them here in this function where we are opening the file. But I think that's also where they're declared, which means they don't become declared until we run this. So we should probably declare those in the init as well. Otherwise, they're not useful for anything. And we want those available across the board. Now, because this is the init, we can set them as just empty. For now. File name will be empty. File directory, we should set a default directory at some point. There we go. It's a good start. Alright, now what happens when we open our kittens and try that again? Hey, there we go. We have a file directory populating. Okay. Now, like I said, we will want to come back and set a default directory. So let me There we go. Set a default of current working directory. Something to do later. But now we're not dependent on having clicked the file open in order to populate the directory path in our box here. It's already there. Although I think I want to drop that down just a little bit. Oops, I moved the wrong one. I changed X, not Y. Let's change that back. There we go. Yeah, I knew I'd get there eventually. Wanted that. There we go. Okay, so with this, when we get to it, we're just going to call that file dialog, same one we used to open, except instead of ask file name, we're going to ask file directory, and that'll pre-populate that, change the value of apps file directory thing. Oh, we might have to be careful with that, because if they back out, we want to be able to undo that. Oh. So we'll have to give some consideration to how we do that, because otherwise, if we're changing the file directory, Brain fart. If we're changing the file directory and we don't create the file and we back out, we'll have changed the app. The app's currently working directory. So, say we have an open file. We open this up. We change the directory. We don't create a file. We go back to the file we currently have open and we start making changes to it. Those changes will be written to a file in a different directory, not the one that we had opened previously. So we need to be smart about that. But that's a chore for another day, though. All right, for now. We have our new file dialog box. We can make this a lot smaller though, because we don't have that extra label. We're not going to do a "Are you sure?" We might do a pop-up when we create the file button to ask "Are you sure?" so that they have a second chance to be like, "Oh, I didn't mean that directory," or "Oh, I mistyped the name," or something. But we are done with that window. What else we got? Add, delete, and update record. This is going to take a little more work. We've been at this for what, hour and 15? Alright. This one I think we're going to do with a file dialog. I don't know what I just did there. There we go. Possibly. Or maybe a message box. Because basically all it's going to do is confirm just, I'm going to pop up a box that says, "Are you sure you want to delete?" And then it's going to auto-populate from the properties of our app, the currently selected file name, and the currently selected file directory. It'll then do a check to see if those things exist, if all of the conditions match up, in which all the things are required to delete the file from the directory. Does the directory exist? Is that the current working directory? From the current working directory, does that file exist? User's going to have to click, are you sure? When they say yes, file goes bye-bye. So that'll be an easy one. I just have to decide if that's a file dialog or a message box. That's a thing to do later. Adding a record, updating a record, and deleting a record. That's going to be our next big task. Although we could practically do this one, couldn't we? Yeah, we could. We could. Because this will just be a call to our Cruddy Buddy app that takes the entry in file name. I mean, it should probably check that there's a valid entry in our file name entry. I don't know what an invalid entry there would entail. Probably make sure there's no weird symbols or something. Make sure there's actually a file name. But yeah, do a little sanitization of the information entered by the user, and then create the file. Now, since we're assuming we're the user, we don't have to get super fancy with our sanitization of entry. And sanitization is something you definitely want to do with data entry points that are going to be presented to users, because users will try to break everything. Let me explain what I'm talking about here. Okay, so say we open this so we have some stuff here. Alright, now let's say we want to create a file here, but we are a psychotic user who's just going to start doing stuff. Because of the way our app handles directory and file name as string, and the way command lines also handle string for the directories and such, we could put some very dangerous text entry into this file name. Like, we could go up parent directories, if we wanted to, you know, end up at the root, start writing to directories that aren't actually this directory. So we want to make sure there's no file delimiter in there if we're going to present this to the general public, rather than just as a project we're doing for ourselves where we understand how it works. So, we want to make sure they're not trying to add add to the path right there. That's what we would want the changing file directory to be for. We forgot our change directory button. We created it, we didn't place it though. I was thinking that looked a little weird, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what was missing. And that was because when it's missing, you can't exactly put your finger on it. I'm terrible, I know. I'm also not bothered. Helps if we actually close the parentheses. It really does. Okay. I want to make sure there's some text in that directory box. You know, we should drop that down a little bit. Because we should expect this to be just ridiculously long. Some people are going to have really, really, really long paths to get to their files. This one isn't so bad, actually. Even though it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 levels deep on the tree. That's actually not that bad. There might be people who have theirs like, 27 deep. So let's go with making this 12, making this... that was not nearly enough. That was not nearly enough, guys. We didn't do it far enough. Getting better, but we can still put some more space in there. Also, we may want to plan for it to have to wrap text. A thing we're not handling, but, Because, yes, that's also a thing that we should probably consider. Good enough for now. It's not perfect, but like it has the important bits to it. And I don't want to spend all day on that. Alright, so what do we still have to handle here? We need to set a default working directory, obviously. I think our cruddy buddy has a thing for that, or did. I'm gonna call this done. Like, the only thing left is to finish the functions for our window there. We have an idea of how we're handling this one. So now we're just down to, I believe it's those three that we have to figure out. All right. I mean, we still have a lot of writing to do. We have to write these. We have to write the delete. We have to write this. But these still require us to create an entire window. 3 different windows, actually. Now again, here we're probably just going to pop up a message box warning the user that, hey, this can't be undone, and make them have to click OK or cancel one more time after they've hit this delete record button. So we can get rid of the checkbox, we can get rid of the are you sure, we can get rid of the warning, because that's all going to be part of the message box that pops up. But I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing a lot of similarity here. Specifically, this right here. Within a frame, we have it looping through, either by a user entering the number of fields that they want to create, because this is basically this. And basically this. That tells me this is something we could probably get away with writing once, and then implementing 3 different times in slightly different ways. But the way we want to do it, we got to be clever about this, because either we're going to loop through this label entry creation thing based on a pre-selected number of records. No, in fact, that's the only way that should work. before we get to this frame, there should be some kind of dialogue with the user asking how many fields. And I want to be able to reuse the add new record so that it is also the create headers. Because you remember when we create the file, we also have to create the headers as our second step. And then for both edit and delete, what we should be doing is asking which record. So we're either going to ask which record or we're going to ask for the number of records that we have to loop through. When we're asking which record, we already know the number of fields. I'm sorry, we need to ask which record or how many fields. That's the question. In the case of adding a new record to an existing file, how many fields has already been answered. We should make that a usable variable on our main app, because we now know how to access that. Same way we access the file name and directory. So when we open a file, we should probably determine how many fields there are, because that's going to answer a lot of questions here, such as when we update record, how many times we need to add the label and entry. And the way we're going to manage all of these is we're going to add them to a list so that we can reference them by index, because we don't know how many there's going to be. We want to be able to loop through them so that when we're creating the string for our record, we're doing, okay, element 0, element 1, element 2, adding them all together, or joining them with the thing, or just taking the values and adding them to a list created from looping through our list of elements. Because as you've noticed here, all we're doing with each of our widgets is we're assigning it a name, and then we're calling its various functions. So we could do something like do you remember our headers from before? Now, obviously, this'll have to change depending upon, because like for the creating file, instead of labels with populated information, we'll want entry boxes so that the user can just type in, and the label for that will be first entry, second entry, third, fourth, fifth, keep going. But if we already have it, we'd easily be able to do something like that. And what this would do is just keep dropping down one level, one line item each time. In theory, and it would run through all the headers, and it would populate the label. So there'd be the information header, and then we would do similar thing here. I forget with entry, what do we need there? Where's my entry? Oh, just a width, because then we can call like the get value for each of these. I mean, we can put a text variable or a string variable controlling variable, but I don't know that we actually need to. And it would be really annoying to create a new one for each one of these data labels, when we could just run through the that's why it looks funny. We could run through each element and just call the get val, get val, get val, get val. At least I think we're able to do that. I'm going to have to go back and look. We're not going to be getting to that this session. I am actually going to call this here in about 15 minutes. The boy's home. The kid's home today. So I'm going to go make him some lunch. I'm not going to make him wait another hour. I don't know if I've even got any viewers today. Nope, doesn't look like we've got anybody really watching us today. That's okay. The view count usually goes up after the video goes up. So a lot of you are not catching this live, but you are catching it, which is fine. So yeah, we would just do something like this. And then we would have to loop through each of our data entries, call the get val, put all of those in a string, join the string, return the string to our record writer, and job's done. I have no reason to assume that this is not going to work. I mean, it's not going to work currently because I'm typing it into some comments just randomly placed in my code. Alright, so what that would do is that would fill up our frame with the correct number of labels and data entry fields for matching as many headers as our file has. We can populate the labels with the header data using that same sort of logic there. We might have to call this from the Cruddy Buddy object. I believe we can access it through that. Pretty sure. When we're doing it for deleting the record and we want to auto-populate all of that information, we would just do, because you could do like pre-assigned stuff, but you just get the record. You know, you just do something like that, and that would drop the value from the record into the appropriate box as you're looping through, creating them, adding them to your frame. So yeah, I think we're going to handle that in the next one. My brain's been super fuzzy today, so probably best if we call it good there and don't try to tackle this whole task with the last hour we have, or would have if I wasn't going to go and fix some leftovers for my son for lunch. But we could basically use this exact thing here with maybe some minor tweaks like how we're calling headers and record. For edit and delete, for add, rather than referencing the length of headers, we would ask how many, and then we would loop through adding the elements. And instead of filling our labels with something from the headers or whatever, we would just put data field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, because those would then become our headers. So anyway, that's probably the most difficult part we're going to have to handle with those three. And then dealing with the logic to get it all working. And then getting it working with our Cruddy Buddy module. Oh. So yeah, as you can see, our app is coming along. It's not done by any means, but it uh, will be soon. I just have to get my head cleared up from holiday fun times, wonderful nonsense. Probably take a nap. um. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna leave that where that's at for now. I do have some interesting and exciting things coming down the pipeline here. I'm hoping very soon that I'm going to be able to do an entire Metroid run for everybody. And I'm talking like franchise. You know? I have a little more prep to do on that before we're ready to go. But I want to cover the whole Metroid franchise, except for the DS releases. I still don't have a way to show DS titles on my stream. I don't think there is a way, not without an emulator. And I'm not going there yet. I'm just not going to do that yet. Maybe someday in the future I might, but for now, I want to bring you the games on the actual consoles, or as close a close approximation to that as I can. But I've got the Metroid Prime trilogy. The fourth one comes out in January. I'm gonna get that pre-ordered. So hopefully we could do 1, 2, 3, 4. Just boom, 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 boom. Something special with our first one. I want to be able to have the Fusion suit unlocked. So I'm playing through Metroid Fusion. Gonna get that to 100% completion. When I do Metroid, the original, I'm not sure yet if I want to do that on the Virtual Console on the Switch Online service, or if I want to do that as the bonus from the Metroid Prime for GameCube. I might do it that way. That would be an interesting. That'd be an interesting option. I would have to complete my current gameplay of Metroid Prime. I do have a game file that's, I think, pretty close to the end. I just have to finish it up so that I unlock that little bonus. Super Metroid is going to definitely have to be Switch Online. I wish I could play Samus Returns on the DS for you, but again, we don't have an option for that yet. And I don't have a Super Nintendo handy that I could play it any other way, but I am pretty sure it's on the Switch Online service. The Super Metroid. The Game Boy title, Metroid 2. I am hoping to be able to bring that to you when I have my Game Boy player working. I'm modifying a GameCube to be able to boot that without the startup disc, because I was able to buy the hardware. Unfortunately, the startup disc is still an extra $300, and I can save myself $100 by just modifying a GameCube. And so I've got that all ordered. I'm just waiting for it to all be delivered. Once we're that far, I should be able to bring you the entire well, almost the entire Metroid franchise, just not Hunters or Federation Ball or Federation Force or whatever the other DS title was. But yeah, you'll get the whole story of Samus. I've even got Other M on the Wii. And Corruption, I have that one. I even have the bonus disc for the first Metroid Prime. I should see if there's anything cool on there. Like maybe a demo of 2 that we can mess around with or something. I mean, I have the second game, but, you know, demos can be fun to mess with sometimes. Like the collector's edition disc of Legend of Zelda that was released on GameCube has a 5-minute demo of Wind Waker that just drops you into like a dungeon or, you know, various parts of the map. So you basically start with some simple gear, no real long cutscenes or anything to have to deal with before you get into the actual gameplay. It just drops you in. It's like, here you go, have fun, enjoy. Here's an interesting little part of the game that we thought very well demonstrates some of the rest of the game that you're going to get to play. I'm still working on the lineup for Legend of Zelda, because I want to do an entire franchise run of that as well. We've already got Ocarina of Time. Once I have the Game Boy player, we'll be able to do Oracle of Seasons and Ages. We can do Link's Awakening, the original GameCube version, but I also have the Switch version. So, you know, if you'd prefer to see one over the other, or if you think I should just do both, I do have a suggestion box. I also have both versions of Twilight Princess on hand. The Wii version and the GameCube version. Now, one thing I gotta say is the graphics on GameCube were a bit clearer. I'm not sure how they pulled that off, but they did. When you play Wii games, and it's noticeable when you're playing them through OBS, it does get a little muddied. Just a little muddied. I mean, it still looks like a great game, but it's a little muddied. The only difference between the two, other than an aspect ratio, and the motion controls, because the motion controls don't exist in the GameCube version for obvious reasons. They switch everything. Everything is mirrored. So, in the GameCube version, things that would be to your left become to your right. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't actually played the GameCube version all that much because I beat it on the Wii. And I've beaten it twice on the Nintendo Wii. And those are the only 2 times I've beaten it. The first time I beat it on the Nintendo Wii, I burned out the graphics card in the Wii, so I had to send it back in to get repaired. I had kind of like weird Matrix-y looking, like staticky streaks coming down on my screen. And I was like, I am pretty sure it's not supposed to do that. Called up technical support and they're like, yeah, it's not supposed to do that. That's broken. You're going to want to send that in and get that fixed. And because that was how I got to witness the end of Twilight Princess, I was like, you know, I want to play that again. Make sure, you know, I get to see that in clear, decent quality imagery. So I did play through it a second time. But I never did play through it on the GameCube, even though I do have Twilight Princess for the GameCube. I mean, I'm looking at it right here. Bought it secondhand. The manual doesn't even have the cover for it, but it does have the manual. Just, you know, the cover page is missing. Disc quality looks to be in good shape, so we should be able to play that if we want to play it that way. But let me know. I mean, we could do both, I guess, but, like, are you guys gonna get bored watching me play Twilight Princess through twice? Let me know. If that's not a concern of yours, well, I've also got Skyward Sword on the Wii. I've also got Skyward Sword on the Switch. Maybe we play both. Who knows? You do. Let me know. Also, vote for how you would like to see the original Legend of Zelda. Do you want to see me play it on the collector's disc? Do you want to see me play it on the Switch Online service? Do you want to pop in Animal Crossing and play it on the NES emulator that's hidden in that game? Because, yeah, I have it. I bought an Action Replay way back when. I have an Animal Crossing Village on one of my memory cards around here somewhere. It has the Legend of Zelda NES game that is actually playable. And there are subtle differences to each version. And it's not anything like, oh, item locations are changed or anything like that. No, it's coloring, graphics, and sound. That's basically the main differences. We could also opt, once my Game Boy player is here and installed, we could opt to do the Game Boy Advance SP Legend of Zelda cartridge, the classic NES series, because I have that as well. I mean, there's a couple different ways we could deliver on a few of these games. Let me know your preferences. If you have no preference, or if you want to see them all, I mean, let me know that too. I'll be happy to bring you these games any way you want to see them, or at least any way within reason. But anyway, I kind of wanted to finish this app today, but my brain is just not feeling it. It's all fuzzy. I managed to make it just about 2 hours working on this. We did make some pretty good progress. I mean, our app's still looking a little messy, but we still have a few things to finish up, and then we'll give it one big polish where we go through and fix the way certain elements look, make the layouts better, change a couple of things around. We'll do that next week, and then the following week, hopefully, assuming we get all that done, we're going to start talking about sockets. That'll be the next thing that we want to talk about. Before we're getting into things like downloading modules that are not part of the official Python library. Because there's a few bits of the Python library yet that I want to cover that I think you'll find handy. Even if you're not going to be a professional developer. And you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be a professional developer unless you want to be. But you should still know how to do some of this stuff. Because your ability to make the application you need is so satisfying. And it's not that hard. It's really not. You can follow from the beginning. Watch how we've built this thing. I mean, we've struggled with a few parts, but like we always figure it out. There's always an answer. Everything's a Google search away. It's not that difficult to do this, to build these applications. It's just having the mental fortitude to focus on it, which currently I don't have. But that's okay. As a developer, I don't have that. So, if you're willing to put in the time and build a thing, put in the time and build the thing. But let's see, what else we got? Oh, tomorrow, another public domain horror movie coming out. Well, not coming out. Say that like it's a new release or something. No, but I will be showing you another one. I still don't know what, though. Maybe a zombie feature. Maybe a zombie feature. We'll see. Anyway, that's it from me for now. We will be back at this next week. Stay tuned for random Breath of the Wild sessions from me the remainder of the week, because we'll be doing a lot of that. Little boy's home for Thanksgiving break, so while he's home, we're going to really hammer away at that. I do thank you all for joining me. Feel free to follow to find out when I'm live. I do follow back, so if you're looking to increase your follow count, easiest way to do that is click the follow on mine. Feel free to join the Discord server if you feel like shouting at my happy face. Maybe you're sick of my lazy attitude and not completing these streams all the way to the full 3 hours that I schedule them for. Or maybe you think I'm just super boring. I don't care. Tell me. Go ahead. If you feel like reading some of my rantings and ravings, occasionally I post those at my website, drunkfurball.com. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Mine was terrific. I'm about to go dive into some leftovers and then probably take a nap. I hope the rest of you have yourselves a wonderful day.